Joining us now, we have Lucas Kunce. He is a Democrat running for Senate in the great state of Missouri. Also has been on Breaking Points before, talking about the withdrawal from Afghanistan, was on Rising before that, talking about China, worked with our friend Matt Stoller on antitrust issues as well. Great to see you, Lucas.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
So we've introduced you to our audience in any number of ways, but not so much as a political candidate. So just talk to us about why you decided to run. And look, it's tough sledding for a Democrat at this point in the state of Missouri. Why do you think you got a shot?
Sure, let's do it. I mean, I think I have a shot exactly because of the reason why I'm running. And that's that I truly believe that we need to fundamentally change who has power in our country. And so, for me, I've seen my state, Missouri, just get absolutely stripped for parts by, a set of people who've been buying off our politicians. And I'm tired of it. I joined the Marine Corps. I did 13 years in the Marine Corps, Iraq, Afghanistan, thinking that, this was the best way to serve the community I grew up in. This was the way to pay them back for helping us out when we went bankrupt for my little sister's medical bills and a bunch of other stuff. And then I just come home again and again during those deployments or after those deployments. I see the first house I lived in bulldozed down, the corner store boarded up, the one I joined the Marine Corps out of just kind of falling apart. And it's just, the reason for that is that we have a lot of people at the top who are, again, pairing up with our politicians, buying off our politicians to strip communities like the one that I grew up in for parts. And you know what? Missouri is the front lines for that battle, and I'm bringing it to the House.
Lucas, I'm curious, to be blunt, Joe Biden is not doing well. His approval rating is low. What is your estimation as to why the national mood of the country is? And since you are in the same party as the president, many politics are national right now. How are you going to distinguish yourself from the president of the United States?
Look, people don't believe in institutions anymore. That's what we see all across the state, and they feel like they have no power. And so, like for me, what I see is I don't see anything that meets the needs of everyday people in this power dynamic. And so what I mean by that is, wherever I go in Missouri, people often ask me, what does it feel like when you go around the state? And what are people feeling and what's the mood? And the mood is that no matter what they do, no matter who they vote for, no matter, what happens, they just never have any power. And the system is broken and it's never going to change. And so one of the things I hear about the infrastructure bill is, I hear the administration talk about, we're finally putting money into the country. It's going to create all these good jobs. And it's like, yeah, great. It's going to create a decent number of good union jobs, which is super. But here's the deal. We all watched us spend $6.4 trillion in Iraq and Afghanistan for nothing. Then we watched everybody in D.C. squabble over every single nickel they were going to spend here. We got a fraction of that money to go through. And the worry is when I go around the state that maybe this is mission started, but we're acting like it's mission accomplished when we haven't actually seen if that money's going to help normal everyday people. Because, people in our state have been told that the money spent in Iraq and Afghanistan, it was worth it. It was going to be good for them. Well, it turned out to be a big fat waste. They were told that the Wall Street bailout money was good. It was going to help them out. Well, guess what? Everybody got foreclosed on in Missouri anyway, and housing stock prices went down, down, down when frankly, Democrats nationwide were saying they'd save the housing economy. So Missouri's the show me state. People have to actually see how this is going to help them. And right now, there's no indication that it's not going to be captured by the people at the top, the same people who capture money every single time that never works out for everybody else.
Why do you think that Democrats have fallen so precipitously in popularity in your home state?
Democrats used to be the party of working people. It's the roots of the party. We should still be there. But I hate to say it, but our party's leadership decided at one point that money was what mattered most to them. They went for Wall Street. They went for big tech money. They sold out. And the results, they hit Missouri hard. Globalization, consolidation, Wall Street shipping stuff overseas, corporate boards moving things out for quarterly profits. This gutted our state. And Democrats sold out just as much as Republicans, and that was really our bread and butter. Republicans never claimed that, so there wasn't this sort of loss of trust in quite the same way. And I can give you a couple of good examples of just going around the state here in Missouri. So
yeah, go ahead, do it. Yeah,
super. So, and I'll give you one on a farm and one in the inner city. And so, I'm at this farm in Palmyra, Missouri, where these farmers have seen 90% of their fellow small family hog farmers just absolutely destroyed by a corporate monopoly called Smithfield in just a generation. So, we've lost 90% of Missouri hog farmers. I'm meeting with about 40 or 50 farmers at a farm in Palmyra. They're talking about how upset they are about it, how oppressive it is, how they lost all their neighbors, and then how the Missouri state legislature, how China or Smithfield wanted to sell itself to China in 2013. But they weren't allowed to do that because Missouri had a law on the books that said there'd be no foreign ownership of agricultural land in Missouri. And so then, and this is where you really get to the loss of power, Smithfield went and they gave a lot of money to Democrats and Republicans in the Missouri state legislature to change that law. And the Missouri state legislature did that. They changed the law. Smithfield, this company that killed all of our hog farmers and runs the profit off of Missouri land now, sold itself to China because the state legislature changed the law to make that happen. And now these guys see like all the profits from their land going overseas. And so for them, it's just this idea that, their state legislature, Democrat and Republican, would sell out in a position where they had absolutely no power, like the normal people had no power other than what their legislature would give them. And, they sold them out anyway. And now the profits go to China and the land is getting treated worse than ever and everything else. And so for them, it's just like, why would I ever have faith in anyone anymore? The system is broken. Massive monopolies control my life. And like even worse, it goes to people that they say is our adversary. And then I was in urban St. Louis at a place called the Southside Wellness Center, where the person who runs it, so this is a retirement home and health center in an all-Black community. And so it's been run by this family for about 40 years. She's got all these pictures going back, taking care of people. And she comes to me with a similar message, and that's that, you know what, if there's one thing that I could ask you to do for me, it's this. For many years, we bought all our food locally. We had a chef here. We prepared everything and made good meals for everybody. And then a massive corporation came in. They bought off our politicians, and they convinced them that it was important for them to have a contract for all Medicaid food. And she said, so now I can't buy locally anymore. I have to buy from a single monopolistic company that comes out of, I don't know, it was like Florida or something like that, way out of state. They send us this crappy food. It's got too much sodium on it. It's increasing everyone's blood pressure. And now where I used to be able to keep the money in the community, in the Black community here, now I have to send it away, and my people get worse food and they're worse off health-wise. She's like, if there's just something you can do about this, I feel so helpless. I feel like I have no power. And so there's example after example, people talking about the insulin cartel that's taken the price of insulin from $25 to $275 a dose. I met someone the other day who's like, you know what, I'm insured. I have a decent job. And here's what happened. My refrigerator broke. My insulin went bad. The insurance company won't give you more insulin. They just give you the amount that you can have. And she's like, it cost me $5,500. I had to borrow money from my son's grandmother in order to get insulin for him because there was no other way that I could just pay $5,500 to get insulin. And it's just like, again, it's this feeling of I have no power. I have no control over my own life. And these massive forces are buying off our politicians so that the laws don't work for us and they hurt us.
Yeah.
Lucas, just so people can get a sense of kind of where you fall in the political spectrum of the Democratic Party, who did you back? Which candidate did you back in the 2020 primary and why?
So I was still in the Marine Corps then, and so I didn't get involved in partisan politics, and I didn't back anybody. And so,
who would you have backed?
I think so. People ask this question a lot, like who do you like? And for me, like I don't really consider myself a left-right politician. Everybody's like, oh, where on the spectrum do you fall from? Bernie Sanders to Chuck Schumer or Joe Manchin or something like that. And like my answer is just like, look, I grew up in Missouri. The guy that I appreciate is Harry Truman. If you want me to pick a senator who I would like, or you want to pick me a president who I liked, it's that guy. Like he was a true populist. Like I believe in populism. I believe that we need to have normal, everyday people having power again, not the set of elites that are taking control. Like, and so for me, it's just this is a top bottom race. And I don't necessarily associate with myself with anyone directly. And, people ask, well, who would you pick in leadership if you're in the Senate? Then it's like, well, you know what? I'm not taking any corporate PAC money. And the first thing that I'm going to do is say, I want whoever leads the U.S. Senate to not take money from corporate PACs.
Let me ask you this then, Lucas, which is that Trump won your state by 15.4% in 2020. So for you to win, you would have to model yourself after, from my estimation, there's only one senator, Joe Manchin, in the U.S. Senate, so who has won a state with a similar Trump margin. So what separates you from Joe Manchin, and what's your tactic to try and repeat what has only been done one time in the U.S. Senate in terms of the margin through which Trump has actually won for a Democrat?
Yeah, so like I'm not interested in being anything like Joe Manchin. Like the guy takes all of his money. I mean, if you want to talk about spectrum, you know, I'm raising all my money without corporate PAC money. I'm not taking fossil fuel executive money, not taking pharmaceutical executive money, not taking money from a lot of places. Those are the only places Joe Manchin takes money from. So like we have a complete grassroots campaign. You know, everybody goes to lucaskunce.com and donates. Like that is how our campaign is being run. And so like last quarter and the quarter before that, people will be shocked by this. I'll just go with last quarter. You know, we outraised every single Republican in the field, and we did it with the highest percentage of grassroots donations of any candidate in the country. What Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, John Fetterman, we had a higher percentage of grassroots donations than anybody. Joe Manchin is the complete opposite. He had the lowest amount of grassroots donations. And so like, I'm nothing like that guy. Our state, I don't know West Virginia enough to say, but our state might be very different than West Virginia. I mean, you know, Trump won by actually 17 points in 2016, but Jason Kander, another veteran like me, was the Democratic nominee for this same U.S. Senate seat, and he only lost by 2.8%.
That's true.
So like, people here are willing to, I mean, that's a 15-point swing on its own. So people here are willing to make that swing. When Claire McCaskill lost in 2018 to Josh Hawley, our state auditor, who is a Democrat, won by the exact same percentage that she lost by. Like people here are independent, they're individuals, but they truly believe that the system is broken. Unless they see someone who's going to change that broken system, they're not going to go for them. And so they believe that was Donald Trump. I do not think there is any way they would ever believe that was Joe Manchin. I think Joe Manchin would lose worse here than anybody else because he is completely opposite on breaking that system. And that's what I want to do. Yeah.
Well, and you may be going up against, some people are comparing him to sort of Todd Aiken style candidate, which is how Claire McCaskill was able to hang on as long as she did, and Eric Greitens, who's the former governor. You guys can go look up the scandal and judge for yourselves. Finally, Lucas, just a couple of questions about where you stand on issues. You know, what do you think about Medicare for all? What do you think the minimum wage should be? Where do you stand on free college?
So these are populist issues in my mind. And so this is where, you know, people ask me, well, you know, Josh Hawley's a populist. How are you different than him? It's like, no, that dude is a faker, right? He comes in, he says he wants to change the system, but he won't do anything about the minimum wage. He's against raising it. He votes for every corporate judge that comes in front of him. He's not for universal health care, something that will empower everyday people. And he doesn't care who goes to college as long as him and his kids do. And so for me, you know, I got to go to college for free at Yale. I went on a Pell Grant. You know, we didn't grow up with a lot of money, and we qualified for that and a bunch of other financial aid. And with that, I was able to serve our community in a beautiful way. You know, 13 years in the Marine Corps. Iraq, Afghanistan. I led arms control negotiations with Russia. Like that is how my talent was developed and how I was able to do great things for our country. I think everybody should have that opportunity. We need to make that possible for people who can't afford it. Universal health care, like for me, this is about everyday people having freedom again, right? And so like I mentioned before that my family went bankrupt from medical bills when I was a kid. And my dad was actually at the time in the first job he'd ever taken out of college. And he was never able to leave that job. He's the smartest man I know. Smartest man I've ever met is my father. And he was stuck in the exact same job for 30 years, 25, whatever it was, before he retired, because he could never leave because his little girl needed insurance. Like the man had no freedom. He was completely trapped. He always wanted to start a business. He was super innovative, and he wasn't able to do that because his little girl would have died if he didn't stay in the job. So for me, like we have to have universal health care so that people have freedom again, so that small business owners can run a business without having to worry about being a healthcare provider. so that employees don't have to worry about, maybe my employer's beliefs don't agree with mine and I'm not going to get the coverage that I need. Like it is how we focus on our mission and keep everything going. I mean, in the military, we had TRICARE, which is everyone gets health care. You go down to the treatment facility, you get taken care of so that you can focus on your mission. And
Right.
every American's mission is to just take their skills, take their abilities, and put them towards whatever opportunity they can. And without universal health care, they're never going to be able to do that. They'll always be in a tough situation. And so the third thing you asked was, maybe
Minimum wage,
yeah,
free college.
yeah, minimum wage. So yeah, we talk college and healthcare. Like minimum wage is again, it's a way that we give everyday people power, and I mean, $15 to me is a minimum. So we have to have a minimum of $15. We should have a wage that people can get by on. They don't have to work two jobs. I mean, we should all be able to, in this country, if we work hard and do our best, we should not have to live paycheck to paycheck or one disaster from bankruptcy. And I mean, I know that's what that's like because that's how I grew up. I remember my parents, my mom, writing a check at the grocery store and asking the manager not to cash it till the end of the month so that we can make it. And, I think the saddest thing about our country and particularly like where I go back to in Jeff City is that, that corner store is gone now. People are going to like a Dollar General store or Walmart. And the way that they get through the month now is a payday loan at, 360% interest or whatever it is. And so, I mean, that's bad for society. My family would have gone bankrupt way more than one time if we'd had to rely on payday loans to get through.
Yeah, not to mention all that revenue then gets sucked down to other places. It doesn't stay local in the community.
That's right.
Lucas.
It all goes up and out.
Yeah. Lucas, thank you so much for your time today. Let people know where they can learn more about your campaign.
Yeah, you can learn more about me at lucaskunce.com. It's Kunce, and at Lucas Kunce Mo on Twitter or Instagram.
There you go. Thanks,
Sounds
Lucas.
good. Thanks, Lucas.
We're intrigued by your campaign. We'll be watching. Thank you, sir.
Indeed.
Awesome. Catch you soon.
Absolutely.
Bye.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. It's just been amazing at the holiday season. I mentioned you can buy a gift subscription for somebody if you'd like. I've been told to remind people of that. So many people have actually asked for it. So, hey, if you want to give the greatest gift you can, go for it. In all seriousness, though, you are supporting our work here as our ability, and we continue in order to have conversations every single day, how we're going to scale up, how we're going to build the show, make it a powerhouse in the midterms that Lucas was actually running in. And so to do that, we need your support. That's what my monologue was about today. There's a war that's coming with the corporate media, and we want to get as big as we possibly can before they try to come after us. So we really appreciate all of those who you can. There's a premium link down there in the description, and we love you guys. Happy holidays.
Love you guys. See you soon. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it, you get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.